We're back again today with Marc Steinberg, who is the founder of Creative Consciousness. And we're continuing our series about stress and burnout. And particularly this week, we're talking about falling back into old patterns and old habits. So most of us know the first step is getting help, going to a training, maybe getting rest, listening to your body, looking after yourself. But what happens next?
Thank you, Jennifer, and hi, everyone. So, a burnout, a stress situation of a high level is always a signal from our life that we are needing to attend to key questions in our life. You know, usually we get so early busy in our lives, being completely part of a society lifestyle mechanism, that taking time to answer the questions that are really key for everyone's life is not attended to. Then burnout, you can also reframe it and call it a spiritual crisis. That is also not really so far off the truth, because it is forcing us to come back, getting centered by being not able any longer to have the motivation and energy to continue the way we plan to continue. We would like to continue from our ego that has a particular plan to go someplace. No, it's like put on hold. It's very awkward. It's frightening because we feel threatened in our survival. We feel threatened in making it in life. But all of that brings us inevitably back to key questions. Key questions, for example, what is it you're really here for? I mean, what's your soul's incarnation purpose? Yes, okay, we need to care for our lives. We have responsibilities. We do know joys of family life, of success, and these kind of things. But when you take time and go a little bit deeper, then you see that these are all external circumstances. And there's something far more bigger about life than the external achievements and the things that come and go. You know, you can't keep a car forever. You can't even be with people forever, although we would love to do that, sure. And so, what is it you're really here for? Who is it you are meant to be in the eyes of the divine? That is the question. And this is something what everyone needs one time or another to attend to and to answer. So burnout, depression, loss of motivation, loss of energy, illnesses that put us into a different reference frame where our plans, the way we get comfortably acquainted with a particular plan, they are destroyed. And it brings us to an opportunity, the opportunity to reconnect with the divine source, to reconnect with what is bigger than us, to reconnect with the essence in us. And yeah, so for me, that is the big opportunity here. And when you ask those questions, you may not find immediate answers. That's normal. But to be present to the question, to really focus your energy away from the mourning that things are not continuing the way you wish they would, and redirect it to yourself, then you're going into the right direction. See, Buddha said, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. Now, happiness for us human beings, we are so conditioned to have it completely externalized. Once we get the circumstances we want, happy. If we don't have them, not happy. That is too cheap for life. Life is much deeper. And happiness is the way means to find the appreciation for life as is, to focus on what we have rather than what we don't have, to learn to appreciate and find joy in the little things, even in the pleasure of just being able to be alive. The purest happiness comes from the appreciation of something far bigger in us than the little ego, to be alive, to breathe, to have this opportunity. And even if your body is not in a good shape, there is behind the pains, behind the inabilities, behind the awkward emotional feelings and from the emotional body, behind that is an awareness, is a state of being that is untouchable, that never begins and never ends. And you can fall back in your awareness into this bigger you. And once you're there, you see that your life is dramatically changing, because then burnout is obsolete. You got the message. There's a purpose behind every tragedy that happens to people in life. It is bringing us by force back to what we have been missing, serving our ego's desires too much and in a state of unconsciousness. So letting go of the second-hand dreams and ideals that we have adopted from society, from the magazines. We want to show off who we are, compete to others, drive our cars where we feel better than the rest of the world. I mean, all of that is really superficial, and it's not lasting. Our whole world is in a spin towards the next level of evolution, towards a more conscious, a more holistically congruent world. And the old patterns, the old models of how we live our lives are breaking down. We see it in all areas of our lives. And it is by force us getting into a sanity where we consider the real purpose of life. And that's not about making money. That's not about having all the things in place. It is going into the spiritual values. And that's not airy-fairy, no. Some can learn it by cooperation and others can learn it through being forced. But everybody who has experienced burnout, or when the stress hormones flushing through your body, and when the overdose of adrenaline and cortisol and all of that is putting your body in such a stressful situation that it needs a big break and collapses in a burnout, into a depression, well, then people are usually very receptive to redirect their attention. But does it need to get that far with you? So I hope that you can see that there is a calling individually, collectively, globally, for all of us. And the sooner you are considering the calling and starting to re-examine your values in life, what's important and what's not important, the less you become subject of being redirected with your attention by force to answer those questions.
Yeah, so we're going to learn it one way or the other. So we can either cooperate or we can learn the hard way as usual.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And what struck me there is it's like we're filling our life with stuff to cover up,
yes,
to cover up what we don't want to look at. And we're afraid of that idea of nothing.
Yeah.
That you mentioned there, that when we get to that point that we're forced to drop it all and be with nothing. And that's very scary for a lot of people.
It is scary. We try to escape from the feeling of loneliness, from emptiness, from nothingness. And anything is better than that. And I understand that. I mean, who wants to feel lonely? Who wants to feel empty? Who wants to feel nothing? On the other hand, we experience consistently that what we are holding on to, what gives us something, what fills us up with something, that this attachment will cause us suffering, because anything I hold on to inevitably comes with a price tag called fear of losing it. And that fear is building. And that fear is always the womb for more fears. And then we have more attachments and we get more and more stressed out with securing our turf not in order to lose that what we think gives us fulfillment. But it's an illusion in the first place. So the concept of security that we have been conditioned to believe is a false concept, because that security, what society made us believe, is all external. And we became a slave to secure our lives on an external level, only to experience that no matter how much money you have in the bank account, the next financial crisis may take it all away. The banks may be collapsed, the currencies may be collapsed, and then what? In the body, it's the same thing. Yeah, we have not much control over external circumstances. We never know. So the only security really that does exist is internal. And internal security means that you are being fully present in the moment, that you learn the art to be in the moment, because the moment always is. No matter where you are, no matter what condition you're in, there is always the present moment. It's an art, what we need to relearn, because we have been dragged into going into the past and projecting into the future. That is a way of life not really sustainable, and certainly not a way of happiness. To be in an open heart, to open your heart, to learn, to reconnect to the heart space so that we can feel life, that we can feel a plant, that we can feel a tree. Sounds crazy? No, absolutely not. That's what people expect when they do psychedelics, mushrooms, and all kind of other drugs. Yeah, or that's what people get when they go into the mountains. Yeah, they breathe, they want to stand there on the summit and get this injection of nature, and to learn to enjoy and feed from what is free available, what we do not have to protect, what we do not have to make our own. Yeah, a great walk. How much more joyful can life possibly get? And then your appreciation, your awareness, and your unconditional love. That's all internal. And that means you have access to it 24/7 by simply choosing to attend to that. As I just mentioned, it's a choice to choose to attend to what you have and take your attention away from what you don't have. The ego always is dwelling on what you don't have, because it wants you to go for the next thing it can identify with. So we follow the carrot of the ego all the time, never reaching the point of stillness, the point of coming home, the point of joy. And all of that is something we need to learn. And when we get that there's little we control externally, we can take a deep breath and we can give life a chance to show us the way. But for that, we need to reduce manipulating life the way we think we want it, because that's what everybody is doing. That's why we have competition. That's why we have the elbow mentality in society. That's why the gap between poor and rich, between all of that mess comes only from having lost the pure purpose of life, having lost the meaning of life. And yeah, we see what's happening, and I hope it's not going to get worse. But what if it does? It still means that everybody is going to retreat to one's own state of awareness, and we become sane by force. And I wish there would be another way, but look around, look at the world, what's going on. I'm an optimist by nature. However, I'm not blind. So when we see all the stuff that is happening, we know, everybody knows, deep down, we are on the wrong track. Yeah, this direction we're going is not good. No, it's not. And you hear it from all sides. So start for yourself. You can't expect the world getting better tomorrow, so you get better. As in directing your attention and your plans and everything to where you're invincible, and that is in your inner state. Your awareness cannot be destroyed by nothing. Not even death can destroy your awareness. And awareness of self, self-acceptance, enjoying to be alive, feeling the goodness in you, opening your heart, that is bringing you joy. And when there's joy, then you don't need anything else. It sounds simple, it is simple, and we need to really recondition ourselves and detach from the false values we all bought in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is true. Society is crazy right now. Our lifestyles are crazy. The modern world, I think, is pushing us to the brink. And especially right now, things are very unsettling in the news, in the world,
Sure.
with our health, finances, all of that. I mean, how do we go against all of that and stay centered? I know you touched on it a little bit already.
Yeah. So liberate yourself from all second-hand indoctrinated values and baggage. The moment you get lighter, your frequency is starting to be higher. That means your immune system is able to become better. Your body feels more secure because you come more into your body and you don't have your whole attention 24/7 on your car, on the next plan, on the next person, and all the rest of it. That makes the body feel very insecure because you half there, if at all. And when the body is insecure, then it goes into stress because it doesn't know what is my host doing. So when we are starting to redirect our energy towards ourselves, then our body feels we are coming more home. This gives the body power, and the immune system is directly related to that power. So the less you carry, the lighter you get. I suggest you do an inventory externally and internally. An inventory, as we teach in our courses, we call it consciousness inventory. All the things on the external, take a look. Do you need 2 cars? Do you need this? Do you need 10 insurances? Do you need 5 bank accounts? Do you need stock? Do you need all that? Simplifying your life means getting lighter. Re-evaluating what is important to you, what matters at the end of the day. And once you do that, and once you have the courage to delegate, to sell, to convert, whatever, so that your universe is less demanding on the external because you have less, you will experience to be richer. You will experience to be much more in abundance because you're now coming more and more and more from the internal world. And you see, you never will lack because happiness, fulfillment is a state in your being. It has nothing to do with the external world. We have too many examples of people who have everything, who are totally in pain psychologically and don't know a way out anymore, although they do have everything. Yeah, so let's not be deluded that the illusion of accumulating external riches will ever get us into a state of fulfillment, because it's a lie. We were lied to. And the bill is coming on the table. We cannot exploit nature like a credit card with no spending limit. We cannot continue the way we do. And we need to start here. Yeah. So do an inventory, check it out, do an internal inventory. What memories can you let go of? What memories do not serve you? What future projections are based on second-hand motivation to show that you are great, to show that you are important, or that you only do because internally you don't have a reason yet found to love yourself as you are, to love yourself with all your faults, with your external circumstances. They may not be glamorous and big. The independence, the freedom that comes, if you work on loving yourself as you are with no need to add anything, then you don't go for results all the time because you experience you are the result. It's already there. And to have that insight that is one step towards the great freedom of light. Call it enlightenment, call it liberation, whatever you want to call it. And it allows you to be reconnected to the divine source. And then you're completely independent. Then you don't mind what happens. You are responsible, you engage in life, but you remain detached because you don't need anything inside because you are fulfilled.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think a lot of us don't realize how complicated our lives have become.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So lightening the load, absolutely. Why do you think so many people tend to relapse and fall back into old patterns and habits?
Well, first of all, they probably don't know that they need to rewire their brain. The brain consists of 100 billion nerve and brain cells, and it's a neuroplasticity phenomenon. That means the brain is able to rewire itself to consistently change according to what we are paying our attention to, what is important. So if you learn a new language and you pay attention to a particular verb and you learn it, and by the repetition of putting your attention on that, the brain is rewiring and creating a new structure that allows you to have a pattern speaking the language without thinking about it. So when we take a look at the brain and discover we have negative belief systems and we have all these stressful projections into the future that make us all cuckoo, then we need to rewire our brain. So when you are in a burnout and you have now by force time to reflect and to revisit your values and all the rest of it, the brain also needs time to rewire, and you need to know how to do that. We teach neuro conditioning, which is a very successful method in order to rewire the brain. So only when the brain is rewired, then the change is sustainable. The likelihood that you fall back into old patterns is very little. So that is a part of it. You still will need to answer all the important questions and to make the inventory. So it's a package. All these elements together give you not only a liberation from the burnout and bring back all your energy, but it gives you literally a new life that has much more meaning than the current one that you probably have. Also, to purify your environment. Look, if you come out of an old pattern and you are still having an environment that was built by you being in the old pattern, then everything in that environment is triggering that old pattern. That's why in addiction psychology, they always say, well, you need to change your circle of friends. You know, if you have a circle of friends that supports your old habits, you go to rehab, you clean now, you go back to the same circle of friends, it triggers like this, and you cannot uphold the energy to resist, and then you fall back. So if you have the same pictures, the same music, the same furniture, the same clothes, and all the rest of it that reminds you of the old you that you don't want to be any longer, there's only one way. You need to purify it. Yeah, send it all to eBay. Give it to charity. Clean it all out. Paint your walls in a different color. Just become a new you. And then you see you cannot fall back into old patterns. Internally, you need to remove the roots that got you into trouble in the first place. These are childhood traumas that are unresolved. As long as you have an unresolved issue in your childhood, that everybody, by the way, has, not only one, that leaves you in a deep identification that you may not be conscious of, that you're not good enough, that you're bad, that you're insufficient, that you're not lovable. If that is in your system, and I suggest you take a good look because it is, then you need to revisit that event and resolve it so that from there, there's no energy any longer spilling into the present moment in an unconscious way that creates a feeling in you which forces you to do exactly the things that are in alignment with that tragic identification. So that you can do. Therapeutic measurements, yes, we have retreats for that, where we help people to get all these weed outrooted with the root. Because if you leave it in there, if you just do affirmations and things like that, it doesn't really help. You need to go all the way down there and get on the root and root it out. Then the field is clean. And lastly, you need to find out who you really are. As I mentioned in the beginning, until you find your north, your true north, until you finally hit what you're here for, why your soul has incarnated, if I may use that language. But today in 2020, everybody or most people will understand what I mean by that. Until you hit that holy grail of your purpose, it's still a dangerous route for you to go, because you never will feel really fulfilled. So you still will look for external stuff in order to get this feeling of emptiness away. But the feeling of emptiness is immediately away once you live your life's purpose. Then you're fulfilled. And then you don't need all that stuff, and you cannot fall back into a pattern.
Okay, wow, yeah, you shared a lot of really, really great insights there, and you touched on, you know, what we can do to make sustainable change. But can you just kind of summarize for us, like, what are the key things that we can do to keep that change that we need so much?
Yeah, as I already mentioned, you need to find your true north. There is help, there is support out there. And I found my true north by being very, very attentive to what doesn't resonate with me, what I don't like, what I don't want, what doesn't match my energy, what isn't fitting me. And I had the courage to drop it or not even touch it. Yes, my parents wanted me to become this and become that. Blessed is my mom and my dad. And I refused, because I sensed this is not for me. Then I did this and I did that, and it wasn't for me. I ended up with almost nothing anymore to try out. I exhausted all the options, and that got me into a very, very niche of action. And right there, destiny came to me and gave me an experience, and suddenly I felt an expansion. I was like, that's probably it. I feel so alive. It's all effortless. Yeah. And I then exploded more and more. And here I was, and here I am. That's what I do. That's my life's purpose, to teach consciousness, to support people in becoming conscious, awakening consciousness, and supporting them in fulfilling on their greatness. That's who I am. But I found it by detaching and dropping what I didn't was. And this requires courage, because yes, you tell me, Marc, I would like to do that. Sure. I don't like my job. I feel it's not for me, but I need the money to pay the rent. I need, and so on and so forth. I know all these arguments, but who are you dealing with? You are dealing with life. Yeah. You need to make a plan here. You need to have the courage to trust life when you are embarking on a resonance for searching for your own essence. You will be supported. I know that you may not believe that, but there are so many people who say that this is true, and life works like that. The moment you are going on a real self-realization journey and your inner being feels that, it will attract everything what you need. So you don't need to worry. You will experience it for yourself. So let go of that what is not you. And you'll see, you will be caught by life itself and directed into the right direction. So that's what I suggest for sustainable change, which is very important. Next one would be to learn to reconnect to source. Now, you came from somewhere, you got a body, you are actually a spiritual being in a human experience, you're not a human in a spiritual experience. So you got your body, but there's something called you. not the ego, the awareness, the spirit, the being, name it. And to reconnect to the source of that being, the source of that greater you, the source of your higher self, that is reconnecting to the divine. And many people try it through religion, and if it works for them, great. If it doesn't work for them, they should add some new spiritual techniques that are available. So you do whatever gets you into the experience of being reconnected. Why? Simply because the divine energy is the highest vibration you can have. And it always attracts the high frequency reality into your life. It means you are guided, you are protected, you are on the right path, the golden path, your path, unique, and with amazement and with wonder. You just need to make this a priority. As long as you have higher priorities than that, you're playing it risky with life, because life may not agree with you that you put all your wonderful life energy into the next million, into the better position in your job, into the next version of another bigger house. Nothing against those things. If life intends these things to be with you, it will give it to you. Just make it a priority to live the deeper purpose of life, and you'll see it all works out in miraculous ways. And then learn the great art of detachment. So detachment means that you're not holding on to anything. What I mean is you fully engage, you fully take responsibility, you're there, you're in integrity, you take on projects, sure, when they feel right, okay? But you never attach to them, as in you allowing your ego to identify with it and then pretend that only in the possession of that you are happy or you are complete. That illusion got you into so much trouble in the first place. So fully engaging in life, fully participating, never attaching psychologically. Yeah? Never assuming that this person, this job, this bank account, this furniture, this body makes you complete, because you are already complete. Now, I know it's great to hear that, and it's hard to believe it. It's a meditation. Remember that time and time and time again. In other teachings, they say, remember your Buddhahood. You are complete. Samasati, remember your true nature. All that refers to the same point. There's nothing what you actually need in order to be complete and happy. All the unhappiness comes from a false indoctrination of a philosophy that only made you a slave to the external forces, and they are all bigger than you and I are, and they capitalize on us being confused, not knowing who we are. And here we go again, being a slave to the environment, and by that being a slave, we are part of the society, and if 7 billion are doing that, we're gonna hit big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like quite an art of trust and detachment, almost like it's a moment-to-moment practice of having to trust and also detach at the same time. Yeah. So given that it's almost sort of like a meditation perpetually going, what is something practical that we can integrate into our lives to prevent rather than cure burnout or stress? As we know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely. So if you're not yet in that stress situation and stuff like that, or you came out, it doesn't matter where you are at. Really, take my word, if you do an inventory, a ruthless one, especially if you really can resonate with what I shared with you already, do an inventory, take a look. Do you need that? Because everything you regard as your own, everything you have in your space, you're responsible for. And a part of your mind is busy with protecting it and securing its survival. And if you have too much, your mind is busy with too much external, means you have no resources to pay enough attention, to redirect enough attention to the internal. And that is what your soul is not happy with. And then it makes a big correction stuff, burnout, depression, and so on and so forth. So make that inventory. Yeah? Tick off the list. What can you let go of? What do you not need anymore? Is it really important to keep that because it was a gift from somebody? Declutter, declutter, get lighter. Yeah, I only can recommend it time and time again. That's one thing. The other thing is learn the art of completion. Complete your past, complete your future, and learn to live so complete in the moment that by the end of each day, you have left no residues incomplete. Then you really are flying. Completing the past, what does that mean? Well, it means you revisit all the unresolved boxes, unopened boxes in your past, the unresolved issues. Yes, your ex was fill in the blank. I know, but if I ask your ex, probably they say something similar about you. It doesn't matter. If you're not complete with your ex, if you still get triggered by the characteristics they had in someone of your people today you meet, your boss or work colleague, etc., means every trigger, what you experience, is something you're not complete with. So you need to revisit that in your past and heal it, get a new perspective on it, move with your energy beyond it. All these tools liberate you from being haunted by the past. And most people's future is nothing but a different version of their past. So the future, to complete the future, means to answer all the unresolved questions. Who are you really? What's your life purpose? Who are you meant to be? Answer those. Or go on a journey that is suitable for answering these questions. Maybe it takes years. So what? I mean, maybe that's what you're here for, to find the answer to that. Right? Maybe that's your journey. Anyway, the moment you redirect and you make it about a real self-realization issue, not issue, matter in your life, when that is your priority, as I said, then forces will come to you that support you. And then you experience there's something magical in life. There's something good in life. There's something what you can't explain. And this comes to those who are on the journey that is resonating with their essence, and that's only inside. Don't listen to those people who talk about that and their energy goes to the outside. They want to have this, they want to have that, and this and that. That is all still the illusion. Have an outside that is enjoyable, but wait what life gives to you while you remain in your essence. There's a spiritual law called what you're willing to let go of, you may keep. Test it. Yeah, let go of holding on to that particular person. Let go of holding on to that particular business or whatever, and see if it comes back to you. It's meant for you. If not, there's something else that fits your energy much better, and then you become lighter. You become more powerful. You become stronger, more resilient, and all of that is what you intrinsically all the time are looking for. You're just looking at the wrong place, and you're having not the best strategy for that. So completion, past, future, and then to learn to be in the present moment means you learn to not withhold, to not making compromises, to not be inauthentic, to say yes when you mean yes, to say no when you mean no, and to live a courageous life in the moment. So when at the end of the day, you go to bed, you have zero regret. You have been truthful and you have been courageous. And you have not compromised on who you are, that you can learn. Maybe it takes a couple of days, weeks, months to get there, but start the journey. And then you'll see, you will be well, your life will be well, and best of it, you become an inspiration for others to do the same. And this fulfillment, to know how many people you have inspired with your presence and your energy and your way of seeing life and living life. And when that becomes a domino effect, when that becomes a infection, that would be great. Because then the more of us who awaken to that real essential way of living, the better our chances of survival as a species are. And I just wish that you take that path and become a flame of awakening and a flame of authentic greatness. Thank you.
Wow, well, that's a very moving and beautiful vision, to be sure, and some great suggestions as well. So thank you, Marc. And yeah, this concludes our interview for this week. And yeah, just thank you. It was very insightful and inspiring.
Namaste. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.